The Confessions of Reverend Miles. Opening question. Were the only thing holier than the pastor's robe was the mask he wore to hide his crimes. Everyone in Oak Ridge, Georgia, looked up to Reverend Elijah Miles. To the public, he was the town's moral compass, the man who held your hand when your mother passed, who organized soup drives in rain, who stayed late to counsel addicts and broken marriages. His church was the center of everything good. People called him the Shepherd of the South. But beneath the polished sermons and teary altar calls, Reverend Miles was orchestrating a criminal empire, one that thrived on the silence of the pews and the faith of the innocent. For nearly 7 years, Miles had been stealing from the dead. He used church records to reactivate the identities of deceased parishioners, funneling their names into bogus welfare claims, federal housing grants, and donation drives for non-existent families. The stolen money flowed through charities with warm, righteous names: Grace Funds International, Harvest Hope Foundation, and Saintly Hands Relief, all shell accounts controlled by him and a select few. Even the local politicians donated. Even the mayor prayed with him. No one suspected a thing. Until Kian Brooks, a quiet 17-year-old intern with a knack for computers, joined the church as part of a youth mentorship program. Kian wasn't looking for trouble. He had come to the church to escape it. His father was serving time for a robbery he didn't commit, and Kian was just trying to stay on the right path. But one afternoon, while printing bulletins in the pastor's office, he accidentally knocked over a folder. Inside were ID cards, benefit forms, sign checks, all belonging to people who were already buried in the cemetery out back. At first, Kian thought it was a mix-up, but curiosity gave way to suspicion, and suspicion to investigation. Late at night, after services, he'd stay behind to clean up. In reality, he was quietly hacking into the church's internal systems, taking screenshots, backing up emails, and logging every financial transaction that passed through the Reverend's ministries. He even bugged the office with a hidden recorder tucked inside a flower vase. Then, one recording changed everything. "Don't just delete the names," Reverend Miles whispered during a late-night meeting with his treasurer. "Scrub the donation logs." If the IRS checks were a ministry, not a miracle, that was the moment Kian knew this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was fraud, betrayal, and blasphemy, all rolled into one man in a collar. But here's where it got dangerous. The church had eyes everywhere. Loyal men in the finance team, former cops turned security volunteers, even a retired judge who sat on the front pew every Sunday. Kian couldn't just hand the evidence to anyone. So he waited. 2 weeks later, a state auditor came to Oak Ridge to inspect how the church had used its latest government grant, a $200,000 fund for housing hurricane victims. During the Sunday service, as the choir belted "Wade in the Water," Kian approached the seated auditor, pretending to offer communion notes. What he really passed her was a USB drive with everything: audio, images, bank statements, IP logs. He left the church immediately after, not out of fear but strategy. By Tuesday morning, the church gates were surrounded. FBI agents and windbreakers stormed the chapel mid-morning prayer. Reverend Miles raised his hand to hush the agents, Bible still in his palm. They didn't flinch. He was handcuffed at the altar, still reciting scripture. The congregation screamed. Mothers clutched their children. One woman fainted. But Kian? He watched it all from across the street. Earbuds in, hoodie up, sneakers tapping against the curb. He used the pulpit to steal in God's name, but the truth didn't come from the heavens. It came from a kid in sneakers with a flash drive. To hear from us again, like, share, and subscribe. Chronicles of Emizy.